Hello everyone. Welcome to this episode of The Set, coming to you from Old Orchard Beach, Maine. I've got my pier fries and there is so much going on this week, which we'll share with you later on in the show. But we're going to start off with a message from our General, Linda Bond, about her vision for one Army, one mission, one message. Let's hear from the General. General Bond, I want to thank you for your time today, and we've been able to hear a little bit of your one Army, one mission, one message. Would you be able to tell us a little bit more about it and what inspired it?
I'd love to, actually. I was a territorial commander in Australia Eastern Territory, and we had solicited responses from the territory on what they felt should be the mission priorities. So when they all come in, we formulated in some kind of a fashion what they were trying to say to the Army to go forward. The program secretary at the time phoned me and said, you know, if we did all these mission priorities, what do you see? What would the Army be like? And she said, how do you see it? And I said, well, I see the Army as I always see it. I always see the Army in my mind's eye as an Army on the march, an Army on the move. Well, she said, could you unwrap that a little bit? And I said, yes, and I talked about it a little bit more. And then she had one of her staff members come and sit with me and say, well, what is it you see? And so I tried to describe what I saw. So what you have now in the vision is what I really took with me to the Office of the General, and we had called it One Army, One Mission. So when I became the General, it really is, again, what I saw. This is my vision of what the Army is and what it should be. And when we were doing this, I thought, well, how do I find out what the world wants to do in the Army? So I asked all the territorial commanders and the command leaders, what are your priorities? When they all come in, we then gathered around as leaders, and a group looked at it and said, what are the repetitive things? What are the themes that come up? And out of that came about, I'd say, a good 10 themes. And I felt, and I wanted to add a couple, and that was to communicate Christ unashamedly and affirm our belief in transformation. Well, then it all fit with the vision, 4 to the one Army and 4 to the one mission. And one of the leaders wrote me last year when I was on holidays and said, I looked at the last part of that vision statement. He said, that last part is about one message. I thought, yes, that's exactly what it is. What has happened, this is when you know something's of the Spirit, when you don't have to force people to do things.
So if people see, hear, and take hold of the vision, what can you see it doing in their personal lives?
Well, I think the wonderful thing about the vision, because I believe it's of the Spirit, is that it's not just a corporate vision or the General's vision. I do believe it's something you can own. So I will speak personally about this so we can say to people it can be owned personally. I try to live out that vision. I try to move forward no matter what's happening in my life. You know, when you'd want to stand still or run and hide, I say no. If it's a vision that the Army must move forward, it means that I must move forward no matter what. So you can't own it personally. Do I do vision? Do I do the mission? And I think, Lord, keep me sensitive to people who are hurting and broken, lonely, dispossessed, and lost. May I not think that somehow I fix something by standing behind a pulpit and preaching at people. So I try to live it out in a personal level. And I try to speak about Jesus freely, to say I promise in my own life not to be ashamed of Jesus, and to do what I can to provide teaching resources or to evangelize. So it's an Army vision, can be owned, but I think it can be owned on a personal level.
What's the one part of the vision that you would say is most important for people to share with a friend of theirs who may not know the Lord?
Well, of course, it has to be one message. Because I think if you work the vision backwards, it is the message that gives the motivation. You know, people need to know that the Salvation Army is not just a great corporate, you know, entity of do-gooders. And the public, they do love us, and we have a wonderful image. We are activists, we are effective in our communities, but we need to be telling people that we do this because God raised up the Army to proclaim a salvation that touches every part of the human life. It's not just about getting somebody out of hell into heaven. We do believe that Jesus can really address the needs on a total basis for the total person and for the whole world. So, but it's this message of Jesus, that Jesus is the universal Savior. And if you look at Jesus' life, because sometimes I think the world gets a bit concerned about who do we think we are, you know? There's Muslims and Buddhists and Hindus and whatever. Why do we think we got something better? And I think, look, don't judge Jesus by looking at religion and the damage it's done to the world. They need to read the Gospels. They need to see Jesus in life. And he didn't discriminate. He wasn't divisive in the sense of you're better than somebody else. He touched every kind of illness. He touched every kind of life. He was inclusive, not exclusive. And I think what's happening is Jesus is marginalized because they're seeing a caricature of Jesus. I think salvationists need to claim Jesus, talk about and communicate him unashamedly, because he is the Savior who's full of compassion. It's not just about a heaven in the future. Jesus is a now Savior. And I say, why not talk about him unashamedly? Why not tell people that you cannot just get a little better or learn to live with your miserable circumstances? You can actually be whole. You can be transformed. And I think what we have to tell people is when a person gets transformed, their lives are not only transformed, their homes sometimes are transformed. And communities are transformed. It's not crazy to say that Jesus is the hope of the world. He really is. The transformation that comes through Jesus in every part of our living, I believe, is the greatest message ever told. And for Christians, we need to get out there and tell it and touch people where they are.
So is there anything else you'd like to share with us today to encourage our viewers on their faith journey?
I think we're in a day and age where a spiritual hunger is very prevalent, and people are actually admitting to it. And while I know we have the new atheists and secularists and all this, there is a spiritual hunger, and people are in search of what it is that's aching deep inside, and how do you fix it. And I can understand why people explore, because there's lots of religions out there. There's lots of answers. But I can only say what I have grown up with, but not just what I've grown up with, but what I've experienced. And I have just really experienced that Jesus Christ is true. And I just wish people would just read the Gospels. You know, I know the whole of the Bible has what they call 66 books. But there's 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John. And even if they just read Mark's Gospel, it's very short, 16 chapters. And just look at Jesus with different eyes. You know, forget about all your prejudices. Forget about, you know, how does he compete with Muhammad, or how does he compete? Forget all about that. Just read it with real fresh eyes. Look at him. Look at him as a man, and how he dealt with life. And if you can just make this leap, that we believe that Jesus is God in flesh. God in flesh. Well, when you look at Jesus as God in flesh, then you think of God in a totally different way. So he's not this big policeman up in the sky who's making great rules, and if you break them, you're going to be, you know. He's a God who wants to be with you. He's a God who's interested in every aspect of your life. So if they look at all of the stories, because postmodernity is a story generation, look at the stories of Jesus, and they're telling you that he wants to be with you. And there's no sin, nothing you've done that's so terrible that would send him away. He's alive.
Absolutely.
Jesus is alive. He really is. And we need to, as Salvationists, remember that. If he's alive, then this power that raised him from the dead is a power that can operate in us. That's what the Bible tells us. And people who don't know him by faith yet, friends, he really is alive. And miracles do happen. And the greatest miracles that can possibly happen is for somebody's life to get totally turned around. He's alive. He just wants to put his arm on our shoulder and say, I believe in you. And the best is yet to be.
Well, it's been fantastic to talk to you today, General Bond, and thank you for sharing your mission, your vision with us, and I pray that it will energize Salvationists and all who hear it for what the Salvation Army is and can be right there in their own hometown. What an inspiring and encouraging word from our General. And now we're going to hear from Larissa Vaughn with what's going on around Old Orchard Beach.
Hey everyone, I'm Larissa Vaughn, reporting from Old Orchard Beach, Maine at the 2012 camp meetings. Let's take a look at what's happening around here. There are 2 Bible studies happening this week, led by Commissioners William and Marilyn Francis and Captains Billy and Annalise Francis. Many join the commissioners at the Old Orchard Beach Court Chapel, while others pack their beach bags with the captains on the sand. We've had some great gatherings at the pavilion with amazing special guests, including General Linda Bond, the International Staff Songsters, the New York Staff Band, and Michael W. Smith. The Pier Ministry had amazing crowds this year and enjoyed special performances by the Territorial Art Team cast, as well as great evangelical opportunities to the vacationers from around the country. Remember, DVDs from these Old Orchard Beach camp meetings will be on sale soon through the Media Ministries Department at samedia.org. I'm Larissa Vaughn, and I'll see you next time on The Set.
Well, that's all we have time for today on The Set. Hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we hope to see you soon. If you have anything that you'd like to share with us, go to samedia.org/The Set. You can watch previous episodes there and email us your idea for stories or other things that we should show on The Set. Until then, we'll see you later. I'm going to enjoy my pier fries from Old Orchard Beach.